In the last few moments, you've taken the complications of business and have simplified it, is what you just did. And I'm curious that what you've kind of proven to me, my point is that I think that the number one trait that anybody needs to be successful in business is to be hungry. And you clearly have had that hunger from the time you started. What do you think the genesis of that is? What has made you different? Because that's the reason why so many entrepreneurs fail, is they don't really have that hunger and that drive. You've always had that. Where's that come from, you think?
You ever been broke? You ever been
Absolutely.
homeless?
That's
You ever
yeah,
been
not
homeless?
homeless, but broke. Absolutely.
You ever see your family struggle and never seem to figure out a way to get out of it?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll tell you a quick story. When I was younger, you live this way, right? And you think it's normal, right? And then you get older and you go away, and then all of a sudden you go back to see your family, after not seeing them for 2 years, and you show up, and my instant feeling was, oh, I don't want to end up like this. This is not how it's going to go for me, right? Like I don't want to see that happen. And so I think, the hunger comes from, you have to have a desire to want to be better and want to improve your life and try to, but at the same time, you got to put the work in. Being a parent, right? Like I have kids, and I struggle really, really mightily to try to figure out, well, what's the balance between making sure that they're working hard, have a desire to want to do more, but also they're living way better than I did, right? And they didn't have to think about, well, maybe if I earn enough money, I can actually help buy food for my family, right? Their problems were, I don't really like this kind of chicken nugget. You don't like this
Mm-hmm.
chicken nugget? Oh, my bad. Sorry. How about we just don't eat it all? Right. And so so it's the same thing in family business, right? How do you get that structure of, the balance of, you know, but that's the truth is, you have to, I think most of the successful people, no matter where they were, there was a lot of struggle, right? And
Yeah.
and so I think that's what makes you hungry. And I'm not going to say you can come from a successful family and still have that same hunger. I'm not saying, as long as, those things are taught to you, but nowadays I see so many people who just want the easy way. They don't really, really want to put the work in. They want the thing that's, hey, I'm gonna create this really quick business model and I'm just gonna make a lot of money. But there's nothing there to fight for because they don't even know what struggle means. And as soon as struggle comes, they quit, they give up, right? And so I used to keep this picture on my wall. It was a cartoon of a guy who's chipping through through the boulder, through the cave, and just keep chipping away, keep chipping away. And then it would be, he gets to almost the outside of that wall and he turns around and goes the other way, right? My personal being says, I'm willing to fail to succeed. I'm willing to lose it all to say, at least I tried, right? I don't want to look back when I'm, 70 years old and say, man, I wish I would have tried this. I wish I would have tried that. And I'm not perfect at everything. By the way, I screw up a lot, right? I make bad decisions. I do things that maybe I shouldn't do. My wife tells me I'm entirely too nice, to everybody, right? But for me, I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? There's so much, I have so many franchisees when we first started where, they couldn't even balance their own checkbook, right? And I'm not you, that's the truth. And so just to get them over that hump of, hey, you got to work your finances like this, you got to do this, you got to do that. And to see those people go from not being able to do that to now, getting more successful and actually knowing how to run that business is so gratifying, right? And so there's so much to this. I mean, franchising, FYI, is hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? Franchising is probably one of the most difficult business models to get into, um, because you're taking people who don't necessarily want, don't know how to start a business on their own. So they're looking for help, so their mindset is not like me. Like, would I ever buy a franchise? Probably never, right? Because I don't want to be bound by that, the rules and the regulations. I want to do my own thing.
Sure. You,
But you
you and
need
I would be
many.
you and I would be terrible
Oh,
franchisees.
I'd be the worst,
Yeah.
right? And I know that about myself.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's many franchisees who don't know that about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They go and they want to start a franchise, and the first thing they do is say, well, can I do it this way? Well, I heard from a friend, he said that, well, this doesn't make any sense. You should do it this way. And so that's a hard thing to like overcome,
Hmm.
and so I'm getting better at saying, listen, if you want to start George's painting, go ahead. Like nobody's stopping you, right? But this is Richard's painting and this is how we do it, and what I tell everybody is, listen, if we go down this road and what I tell you to do, or our system doesn't work, then I'm open to suggestions. I will do whatever's necessary to make it better for you. But until that happens, let's do it my way,
Very
right?
reasonable.
And it's not hard. I mean, gosh, I think the hardest things for me are, sometimes I'll see a picture of somebody and they don't have white pants on, right? And it like shakes me to my core, right? Because it's the basics, right? It's
Right.
like, I would joke around and say, hey, look, you ever go to McDonald's and see somebody not wearing the uniform?
No.
Yeah, you know why? Because they would be fired or they wouldn't be there anymore,
Right.
right? And you try, and in our business too, it's like we have this great uniform that signifies what we do. Just walking around, right? Hey, there's a painter. There's a painter. Maybe
Hmm.
I'll talk to him and see if I can get something going. That's, some of the, just doing those things can help you with your business. But if you're not willing to do that, then does that say to me, well, you're not really buying in? You're not really, getting what we're trying to say here? And so this is no, dig on any of my franchisees or anything like that. And the ones who will, if hear this and take it personal, well, I hope they do, right? And I hope they hear that the most successful franchisees that we have do what we're supposed to do, right? And do it the right way. Don't make excuses why we didn't do this or why we didn't do that, right? If you want to be successful, follow the plan, right? It's not rocket science, right? And this is anything, whether you're in fitness or ice cream or painting. I mean, we don't have a storefront, right? So our businesses are home based mostly.
Sure.
So you have a lot of flexibility, right? I mean, we have vans, we have the way we do our business. I give people lots of leeway to be the best they can be, but there's got to be the core stuff that you do just to, and I'm going to tell you this story because, why not? Like, I tell everybody the same story because one of our first franchisees here was my first employee here in North Carolina. Okay. When I first moved here, I was wearing my Richards painting shirt. Actually, I used to say Nassau painting because in New Jersey, that's what it was. So anyway, I'm walking the Lowe's parking lot. A kid stops me and says, "Hey, are you hiring?" And this kid's probably 7 or 8 years old. And at the moment, I was like, "Nah, I'm not really hiring." His dad's over there. I go see it. I go over there, try to talk to him, and I said, "Hey, I'm not hiring right now, but give me your phone number. And as soon as I start to get busier, I'll give you a call." Well, a year later, I'm finally to the point where I'm like, "All right, I need some help." I call him up, Miguel, and I call up and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, "Hey, this is Richard." They're like, "Who?" I'm like, "Remember the guy you met at the parking lot?" Okay. He said, "Oh, yeah, 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 yeah." So Miguel comes and works for me for a little bit, back and forth. He's working for another company. Finally convinced him to work for me, full time. Ends up working for me for over 10 years, and became our second franchisee. And now, they're going to do probably over $700,000 in sales this year
Wow.
in their third year. And so, but the reason I'm telling you the story is because if I wasn't wearing these clothes, they would have never stopped me that day.
Mm,
Right. And it's the essence of what we are, right? Like if you're out there and people see you, you have such a higher rate of success, right? You're putting yourself in position to be successful. Anyway, I just love that story because it summarizes life really. But in our business, it just catapults you above everybody else.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fiume, or Emerging Franchise Group LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.